Right, George. I hate to bring it up, but just want to check in on the court proceedings. I know that August 25th was a huge date that really isn't worth talking about, probably because we knew a long time ago, as you and others informed us, that nothing was going to get done by that date. But since we haven't talked about it for a few weeks, is there anything out there that would cause us to think any differently, or anything that's upcoming that we need to be watching out for?
So we got the news last week. AG Moody finally got her copy of the ACC ESPN contract. Of course, heavily redacted, and that was done on the back of a deal, handshake agreement, whatever it was. She said she would drop the suit. They would just, give her the copy. So apparently that redacted version satisfied what she was after. So I believe that finally was dropped today, that she filed a motion to drop the suit. So that wrapped up kind of the fifth part of the ACC versus FSU and Clemson battle there. Yeah, August 15th is looking like dead donuts. Doesn't look like Florida State's going to announce there, which means they would be playing in the ACC at least through 2025. Unfortunately, like Mark mentioned, that was the most likely outcome all along. Looking like 26 was just praying for 25. That's kind of best case scenario. If something could pop off, if they could get some kind of great discovery prior to that date, somehow really get ACC to the table. But yeah, we've still got, what's today, the 8th? Today's the 7th. We still got 5 days for something to happen. You never know. But as it stands, none of these NCAA cases, nothing has affected it quite to that degree. There's not much to get into. Everything's kind of on a standstill. One of the North Carolina cases is headed to appeals. Just waiting around. The look of these court cases, that they're going to take at least a year, maybe a year and a half. The next date to look forward is February 2025. The question now becomes, can Florida State and Clemson settle or get a judgment before February 1st, 2025? Because, of course, that's the date that ESPN has until February 1st, 2025 to decide whether to extend the ESPN ACC contract through 2036. As of now, 2026 will be the last season of ACC and ESPN if they don't update that. So that's it. That's the stickler. That's the fly in the ointment. Should ESPN just not decide that, and Florida State and ACC are still in litigation, whatever the case may be, it won't matter. It's February 2nd, 2025. That'll be it. If they haven't already announced, Florida State and Clemson will be announcing their exit from the ACC because they'll know exactly what they're on the hook for. 1 year. And if they play in 2026, 0 years. They'll just be scot-free and gone in 2027. So that's always has been the final date. We've always let you know, but yeah, set that in your calendar, February 1st, 2025.
George, did you see this business right here? Does this mean anything at all to you? I don't know if you saw it. I don't want to put you on the spot if you're not aware. I just came across this as I am always preparing for the show and just Googling different Florida State football news type articles.
No, I seen something about it. I maybe saw a tweet. I didn't read a particular article, but hey, we talked about this, and it's why it was so laughable with all the Big 12 stuff and things of that nature. Florida State wants to go to the Big 10, outward facing, without doing a big press conference. Every single thing they've done has pointed in that direction. Your provost just came out and said, 3 years away from AAU tops. All the different research things you're doing, sending kids to Big 10 meetings, traveling to Chicago 3 or 4 times a year, all the things. But ESPN is in a position, where they're looking at losing FSU. If FSU leaves and goes to the Big 10, they lose them completely, outside of them playing in a college football playoff or playing an out-of-conference game. If they can get them to the SEC, it's going to hurt the ACC. But guess what? ESPN keeps them. And let me do a little math for you, okay? As far as national championships, as it stands across the country, SEC has, I believe, 18 or 19 national championships the last 35 years. The ACC has 9. The Big 10 has 9. Now, this is how they're not like when it happened, but as the conferences are currently constructed now. The Big 12 has 1. Now, should FSU and Clemson go to the SEC, that would move that to 24-9 over the past. I believe it actually over the past 40 years. I believe is what it is, what the stat is, something like that. But yeah, now should they go to the Big Ten, all of a sudden things are real close. It goes around. Now it's more, 1917 Big Ten to the SEC. So the people that say that the SEC and the Big Ten don't have like a foot in the, a reason to sign Florida State and Clemson, that's how big it swings. If FSU and Clemson stay in the SEC, if they go there, it's game over. There is one top conference and there's nowhere close. Fox has some brands, Big Ten has some brands, but when you look at the teams that have won the championships, it goes really, 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 really far in the SEC's favor. Should the Big Ten get them though? When they sit down in that college football thing, I mean, they've got arguments for number one. You have a clear AFC NFC situation. I always said they're not going to the Big 12. It's not going to happen. But should Clemson and Florida State go to the Big 12, it would end up being 18 for the SEC, and then you would have something like 4 for the ACC, 6 for the Big 12. It would and 9 for the Big 10. So it would really make things kind of the SEC, and you would have. It would be the best, I think, for fans if that would happen somehow. But there's no logic in where the Big Ten or the SEC lets it happen, or Florida State chooses it, because they would just be in the same position they were before in a lesser conference, with their strength of schedule getting talked about. The whole point of FSU doing this would be to leave. Why would you be in a conference that has 9 of the last 35 national championships to go join the Big 12 just to drop down? Now you've got 6 of the last 35 national championships there. Anyways.
Okay, so this is where I will push back a little bit. So I don't disagree with anything that you just said. Don't disagree with anything you just said. However, if we were just looking at national championship production, then if this is how I view the conferences right now, forget the ACC and the Big 12. It's a 2-team race. It's a 2-conference race right now, right this second. Mm-hmm. And the SEC has been the best conference for 15 plus years. The Big 10, I believe, gained a little more ground, gaining the 4 versus the SEC's 2. Now, I still believe that the SEC is the best conference, but when you're talking about perception and best conference and all of that, I don't think most people, unless they're nerds like me, care about slots 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. It's more about who can compete for a national championship, not are you better at number 14 than they are at number 14. All right. Again, nerds like me figure that stuff out, but everybody else is focused on 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And to me right now, it's toss up between the two, the Big 10 and the SEC at the top. I think the SEC, I don't think there's any question, is deeper, is like 9, 10, 11 deep, and the Big 10 is not. But at the top, I will take Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon, USC, when they get their act together, just about as much as I would take the top 4 or 5 in the SEC. Okay. Yes, if you add Clemson and Florida State, then you make the SEC so incredibly strong, deep into the conference, deep into the conference. In terms of competing for championships, yes, you add 2 more schools that have shown clearly, especially Florida State in multiple decades at multiple times. Clemson's, all is consolidated into one coach being able to get 2 quarterbacks and do it. We'll see what they're able to do in the future. Again, Florida State since 1980 has been a major factor. So yes, there is more of a chance that somebody's going to come out of the SEC and win a national championship, but versus like 3 schools trying to hold it down for the Big 10 at the very top. But that's basically how I see it, that there's still
I'm waiting for the pushback.
I don't think it's going to sway the elite factor of it that much.
I agree 100%. That's kind of exactly what I was getting at. Like, just you got to go out there and do it. The perception right now is great, and I agree. Like, it's pretty damn close, but I don't think, as you alluded to in the beginning, it's going to be real hard to go make that argument the Big Ten is best just because of the titles that were won. I mean, the actual titles that were won. But Oregon, Washington, they could very easily get that going. I could see those guys getting there and, just adding Florida State and Clemson at it. They just add that factor, whatever it is. What is it? Won 3 of the last 11, and then, 5 of the last 20 or whatever the case may be. It's pretty impressive. There's only 3 players in the game left that aren't in a power conference: Notre Dame, Clemson, and Florida State. Notre Dame is more of that perception for the old days. Clemson and Florida State, they have the playoff appearances and the national championships over the past 30 years. And it's funny you said Clemson. You went back to 1980 because Clemson did win it in 80, but yeah, they dropped
81.
off after that. It's funny. They won it in 80, and then that was like, boom, you got it. You're going to be known for, never winning a big game for 30 years, but don't worry. After 30 years, we're going to give you Dabo Swinney, baby. But yeah, it's just funny when people talk about, Florida State's this, and you don't see no point in adding them and things of that nature. Well, the point is pretty clear. If SEC, whoever adds Florida State or Clemson, that is a major, major power swing. And as far as I understand it, Fox and ESPN and everybody kind of have a piece of the Big 12. So, I just,
Yeah. These comments about the SEC. See, yeah, the SEC is the best conference, but in terms of where players want to go, and man, I don't know. Maybe if you're stuck in a mindset of just your region here in the South, you may want to check out some television ratings and that sort of thing as well. So
yeah, it's not close on the travel. Big Ten has definitely the better destinations. Now, you may argue that the SEC per team is more football crazy, especially the bottom half, as you said earlier. But no, I'd much rather go to Ohio State than Ole Miss or wherever else. LSU is amazing. That'd be the top of any kind of conference. But the Big Ten has several more that I'd rather go to: Nebraska, Oregon, all those, Washington. Those are super, super cool places to go and super cool parts of the country. I'm from the South, but Starkville and Ole Miss and things. What's great about those areas is the college, and that's it.